Hello, everyone. My name is Dwayne Bevel, and I'm a reporter with the Orlando Sentinel. My beat is theme parks and attractions, all things tourism. As part of the 150th anniversary celebration of the founding of the Orlando Sentinel, we recently published a story about 150 years of tourism in Central Florida. Obviously, there's a lot to say, from the snowbirds of the 1880s through becoming the theme park capital of the world. While I was doing research, something caught my attention were the attractions that I'd totally forgotten about or ones I didn't ever know existed. So today we're going to chat about those, for lack of a better term, dead attractions. I reached out to a few theme park fans and experts, and they're going to be popping in to talk about our history. It's not just me droning on and on about the rabbit hole I fell into. We're going to jump all over the timeline, so stay tuned. One attraction I had never heard of before was the Central Florida Spring Festival, which happened in Orlando in 1935. The Sentinel was all in on the Spring Festival, which was sort of a pageant with historical theming. It had live music and flower princesses. Orlando invited nearby towns to play along, and they assigned each town a flower. Orlando is the centerpiece, of course, with the character of Lady Orlando, Lady of the Azaleas. There were a lot of rehearsals and build-up in the Sentinel, and it was a two-night event held at Tinker Field. Orlando's mayor asked businesses to close early those days so that everyone in town could go. So they pulled this off, and the reviews were positive, and then it never happened again. Honestly, I might not even call the Central Florida Spring Festival an attraction if the stated purpose were not this: get the snowbirding northerners to stay in town just a little bit longer and spend more money. That's basically the purpose of Epic Universe. From the time that Universal announced it in 2019, executives said, and they continue to say, we're trying to make Universal Orlando a week-long destination. Stay just a little bit longer. That was Walt Disney's plan too, and that's kind of worked out for us, right? Okay, not everything we talk about is going to be ancient history. First up, let's talk with Rob McCullough, who is a former theme park employee, a longtime fan, now living in California, but, he's here with us now. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Dwayne, how you doing?
I'm all right today. So I was going to start off with something more recent and certainly memorable is Jaws at Universal Studios Florida, which I know is something you have an affinity for, or did, yes?
Oh, yes. I think a lot of people who were around at that time were big fans of the Jaws attraction. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting these days to look at the theme park, the Twitter and the X accounts for people that are looking back at Jaws and mm-hmm. those that wish they had a chance to ride it and didn't. And mm-hmm. it was an amazing attraction and did things that, we hear a lot of complaining about screen-based attractions. There was nothing screen-based about Jaws. You were there. It was in your face. Mm-hmm. Water and fire. And the thing that to me made the Jaws attraction so amazing were the skippers, the spielers, who took what could have been a really boring ride around an island and through their use of dramatic timing and just the training they got, could turn that boat into a really exciting experience.
Yeah, I think Jaws was maybe the scariest attraction I'd ever been in on in broad daylight. Much like the film is more like what's going to happen.
And at night, the darkness and the lighting was amazing. Like you mentioned, I worked at Universal for a while, and my mom would come down and visit from Atlanta. And I was working one day, but she was on the ride waiting for me to get off work. And there was a family in front of her, a little girl, and they were sitting on the left side of the boat. And she always referred to that child and her face of terror She just thought that was when the shark came up at the end and bit the electrical cable. That little girl just lost her mind, and my mother thought that was the greatest thing ever. She loved it.
So the Jaws ride lasted from 1990 to 2012 to make room for a Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Diagon Alley. And you told me earlier that you aren't so bitter about getting rid of things to make room for something else. Would you like to talk about that?
I have to admit, people get real upset about things that were there and were great, and Jaws was great. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride was great.
Mhm.
But if you don't ever advance and change and update, I think Disney talked about how his parks weren't meant to be museums, and it's true. It's great to look back like this fondly at what was once there, but you have to move forward. And of course, you can still go to Japan and ride this. In Osaka, I was there about 10 years ago, and it was so great to experience it again and not understand a word that was being said, but still know what was happening.
So Universal kept the shark, Bruce, is that right?
Yeah.
And, which is still oddly popular. It's kind of tucked away. People find it. They sell all sorts of Jaws merchandise still. So they're still getting the benefit and getting Potter Part 2. So maybe not a horrible idea.
Yeah, I was dying for one of those Jaws sippers that came out, I think, last summer.
Yeah.
Those were super cool. I didn't get one, but I was like, that is really great. And that they're still selling the Jaws merchandise made me very happy.
Then Jaws is also a little bit infamous for, being part of the opening day of Universal, that the beginning was rocky. And so I think maybe just having the shark there is a reminder. It can go south pretty quickly. Let's move on to another scary thing. That in this is maybe the most scared I've been in a theme park in the dark, was Alien Encounter Magic Kingdom, which I'd forgotten it was extra terror.
Terror.
It was stylized Alien Encounter Magic Kingdom from 95 to 2003, which I guess the space had been mission to Mars, which I have only a vague memory of. What did you like about Alien Encounter? Or maybe like the Stitch version?
Oh, no, definitely like the original version better. It was so crazy that they took such a benign attraction, the mission to the moon or to the Mars, and made it into something that was so frightening. It was completely in your head. The setup was so great with the pre-show, with all the 1990s actors that were featured in that, and then going in to see Sir and Skippy seemed so sweet and so innocent. And then you get into that big round chamber, and the shoulder harnesses came down over your head. I will admit, Dwayne, that I had an annual pass to Disney. I worked at Universal, but I go to Disney a lot, and it was always fun to try to find some kid in the pre-show that looked a little nervous and try to make sure that my friends and I were situated close to them, just to be there to experience again, like a mom would call it, the face of terror when that happened.
For those who don't remember, it was a little more show theater, not a ride. You were stationary, but things breathed on your neck, and then there was that moment of escape of the alien. It was so intense. That was a big talker at the time.
There was
too intense for Disney.
There was a live cast member up in the catwalks that was supposed to be investigating the issue, and they were killed. They sprayed warm water on the audience that was supposed to simulate the cast members being eaten by the alien. It was really intense for the Magic Kingdom.
And there was a Skippy souvenir. I want to say it was a keychain, and I want to say he was a little bit singed, and that's part of the storyline. It was sad, and I mean, would it fly now? Did it fly then? I don't know. They had to, eventually they stitched it and sort of split the difference, but still.
It was cute, but it wasn't the same. The chili dog breath never had quite the same effect as the blood showering down from the dead cast member.
This makes me think of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride as well, because they said hell in that, and my mom and I waited in line for that outside, and the ending, dramatic ending, people would come out kind of startled at least, and we're like, what's happening at the end? And then we found out. It was intense for 1971.
But so joyful too. In fact, I hate to make my Orlando friends jealous, but I'm going this Saturday to Disneyland, and Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is always on the agenda. It's so much fun to
There you
get
go.
to revisit. Yeah, and I love these folks for being so adamant to want to maintain what was a great original attraction. But
Mhm.
it's just
Yeah,
it's a shame they keep expanding. But the Pooh
right.
ride is great too. But
Yeah.
things have to change.
I think of Mr. Toad being one of the first things that went away at Disney that made people mad.
Yeah.
There were protests, and this is before there's change.org or Instagram,
Like
to rally them around. And so that's interesting to me.
there's so much these days with the online community that get riled up over things.
Mhm.
They move a bath, they move a trash can, and people go crazy online now. And
Yeah. What are you going to do? So, Rob, another thing that you are unique in my friend base is wait, had you been to Circus World or did you go to Boardwalk and Baseball?
I went to Circus World.
Okay, Circus World was in Davenport. It was
Yes.
sort of a full-blown theme. Well, what was the experience?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was my first family trip to Orlando. We were from Athens, Georgia,
Mhm.
and we came down the week before Christmas, which at that time, this is maybe 78, 79,
Mhm.
late 70s, early, it was pre-Epcot. Um, it's still when that time of the year was really slow in
Yeah.
Orlando, and we did Magic Kingdom, Circus World, Busch Gardens, and SeaWorld. And Circus
All
World
hits.
was a real memory because it was something that was relatively new, and that giant tent that you just showed that was actually, I think, an IMAX theater with a circus movie. I don't remember a lot of the rides because I was still very young, but I remember that movie, and I remember my dad riding the Zoomerang, I think it was called. It was a
The
shuttle
Zoom
looking coaster.
rang.
Yeah.
Yeah, that property, later turned into Boardwalk and Baseball. It, and like many of our dead attractions, there's a lot of ownership. I don't want to
Mhm.
say issues. There were multiple owners in a lot of ways, like Ringley Brothers. There was Mattel. There was HBJ. Bush
Yep.
owned in the end, and then it closed in 1990. So right after I got here, before I had a chance to unpack, it was gone. So
You missed
now
out. It's a shame.
I you probably haven't been by there in a long time, but now it's that land is a Target
Yeah.
and other shopping things. So indulge me for a second. One of the things in this research that got caught in was where things used to be. Okay. So
Mhm.
have you ever seen pictures of Wigwam Village?
I don't remember which one. Oh my gosh. Is it a hotel?
The hotel that's
Ah,
teepees.
nice.
From like it's on the South Orange Blossom Trail, 1948 to 73. They tore it down to make it Days Inn, which I love. But I was trying to figure out exactly where it was, and the address now ends up, it's like an off ramp from the 408 onto the trail. So there's nothing there. So maybe the parking lot of something that used to be a Days
Wow. Definitely that's inspiration for the Cozy Cone Motel from the
Inn.
Cars film.
Oh, it's so cozy cone.
Oh
You're
yeah,
right.
it's completely Cozy Cone.
Were you around for Stars Hall of Fame?
I don't was that on iDrive?
Near iDrive.
Ah,
The Sentinel kept saying it's going to be near SeaWorld. It was a wax figure
ah,
attraction, like 200 stars or whatever, and they kept saying near SeaWorld. It's like,
hmm.
well, whatever. And there was a street address that I could not find. Turns out they changed the name of the street in the meantime. And so it's Westwood, which is down there.
Mhm.
All over comes together, and it's not untrue that it's near SeaWorld, and there probably wasn't as much crap around it. So
Yeah.
it seemed really close at the time. And then I forgot to ask you if you'd ever been to Florida Splendid China.
I tried to get this one to China. There was after it closed, I was driving around someplace and passed a giant like reseller and saw some of the buildings. They had apparently pulled some of the pagodas and things out and they were in like a backyard. So I kind of saw them from the road and was like,
Right.
that looks like Splendid China. And did some
Yeah.
research and it was some relocated buildings.
So it was a miniature version of China, the Great
Mhm.
Wall, all that. This was an attraction in Kissimmee. It lasted for about a decade. After it closed, it kind of became an internet sensation
Mm.
for abandoned attractions.
Mhm.
And now Margaritaville, Orlando is there,
Mm.
and like a water park. So the churn keeps coming.
I, I I did go to Xanadu Home of the Future, so I can say that. Yeah,
I read about that as well.
I did
You went
that
to
one here
Xanadu
in
Home. It
Orlando
was
and in Gatlinburg. I think Gatlinburg had one too. I went to both of them.
wait, when you lived here, it was here.
No, during a
No,
trip, but yeah,
during your trip.
before moving
Wow, you
down.
all
Yeah,
hit all of them.
we got
Good for
around,
you.
man. Yeah.
God bless the road trip.
Oh yes.
All right, Rob, I'm gonna let you go. Thanks so much.
Been a pleasure, Dwayne. Thank you so much.
See ya. All right, so we're going to stay sort of in the Disney topic. Oh, and here's Julie Neal. She's popped up already.
Hey,
How's it
Dwayne.
going?
Pretty good.
Julie writes travel guides and just knows things about Disney, is what I would say. Was that true or false, Julie?
It's true. My husband and I used to write a travel guide called The Complete Walt Disney World, and actually now we're working on a video version of it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we had a print version for like a decade,
Oh,
a few years back.
a lot of words.
Yes, a lot of words.
So on my list with you starts with Snow White's Scary Adventure.
Yes.
Which I think it's an opening day attraction. It's definitely 1971. There's some wiggle room on some of those, but I think I saw the non-scary version when I was a kid.
Yeah, the first version of it apparently was quite scary, and I understand why, because you as the writer, it's like all the fear was like pointed at you, and it was like you were Snow White. So the scary trees, they're all looking at you, and all of the scary part of that story, which is pretty darn scary. It was focused on you, the writer, as if you were the victim of this. And and it was one of Disney World's like original dark rides. And so the whole idea is they put you in the dark, and then they take you through the story of the movie. And so I can see why they toned it down, because that first version was pretty scary for the little kids that were going to be going on the ride. Yeah, I mean, now it's a princess meet and greet, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Princess, yes, Princess Fairy Tale Hall. I always had to look up the name because I get the words out of order somehow. But yeah, when I think about, I remember writing that when I was a kid. I guess people were unhappy because the first version, Snow White, was not in. You were Snow White.
You were Snow White.
It's kind of high concept. You might need more of in the pre-show for that. So they added the word scary, then made it less scary.
Yes, I know that at the
Yeah.
beginning, the very end, it showed the girl like in a coffin, and people thought that she had died. They had to really add the story in, so kids weren't thinking that. Yeah. So
was is it Hag? Is it the witch?
The witch.
Was she in the original version?
I think
I don't
so.
know.
I know there's
it's all mixed up in my head, but yeah, I thought that was pretty scary. So
yeah, it was. I tell you, what was scary is trying to take a photo of that thing. For our book, we have photos for all the different attractions, and we were trying to get a photo of at the end where
a turntable.
Where it's very dark. So what we had to do is we got blacklight flashlights, and it had to be completely stopped. So we kind of we timed when we got on the ride with maybe someone that needed extra help, like in a scooter or something. So it would have to stop right there where we could take a photo. I can't tell you how many times we had to go through to get that photo, because it was very dark and it was all black light, so that was pretty scary trying to get that.
Of course, now we can see that animatronic at the end of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. After the action is stopped, and it's always you can forget, because it is hidden.
Yes, that's right. There's one thing that Disney does that I think is so interesting is they add in all the extra little details, and they don't put an arrow saying here.
Here it is.
I mean, it's just kind of throughout all of the Disney parks, is you can just keep looking and you'll find something that's either history or it's just something that the artists hid in the background. It's just it's like it adds an extra level of fun to the Disney parks, I think.
So another thing you liked is the Great Movie Ride at Disney MGM, now Hollywood Studios. which was open from '89 until the summer of 2017 to become Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Which is a fine attraction. I like it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Great Movie Ride was a real favorite of mine.
Yeah.
It was nice because you could go into it and really take a break because you sit and it's like dark and cool in there, and it lasted a while.
Yeah.
So it was a very nice break. I remember speaking with one of the Imagineers, Eric Jacobson, about it, and he said it was very difficult to get rights to the different movies. He said they kept having to tweak it and change it and tweak it and change it because they couldn't get the rights.
Right.
So it was interesting because I was asking him, why didn't you use this movie or that movie? And he said, there's a reason. There's a reason. So he said that it was so fun to put together, but frustrating that they couldn't use the list that they actually, their original list. So,
almost every scene had a memorable aspect to it.
Yes.
The dancer, the Busby Berkeley dancers on the cake is the first thing I think of, but also like the animatronic witch. Well, yeah, because is it animatronic? Well, the witch in Wizard of Oz, there's a witch theme going here.
That's one of the best ones, I think, when she came out in smoke. And
that stops with the gangsters or the Western scene, depending on which side you went on. So,
we usually got the gangster. Yeah, we usually got the gangster, usually. And I thought it was really fun. Again, speaking about the little details you could see, because when you would go through the alien section and you looked at some of the computers, it would talk about the witch that you're going to see coming up. So, I mean, it's like the more you look, the more little details you can see. So that was just so fun. And I know that we went on it so much that we knew what was coming up. So we could look up and see the alien hiding in the ceiling, and it's going to come down and scare everybody, but you could see it. You could see it up there if you knew where to look. One of the most fun things about the Great Movie Ride was we actually went to a media event because we did this book, and they let us have dinner in the Great Movie Ride. I don't know if you remember, Dwayne. I don't know if you were at that one, but we got to eat in the Western scene, where they have the shootout and all that. And I felt like I was on sacred ground. I thought, I don't want to mess anything up. I mean, other people were taking photos of John Wayne and his horse, and I was thinking, oh no, I just want to sit here and soak it all in. It felt sacred to me.
I have a friend who got to eat inside Haunted Mansion for an event.
Yes.
I haven't done that either. They don't invite me for food things. What's that?
I missed that one. Unfortunately, because that's one of my very favorite attractions. Actually, one of the things that goes away are parts of attractions that are still there. So when they changed the Madame Leota, over to what they're doing now, I missed the old. I thought they did a great job with the new, but I don't know. I miss the old.
I like the old stuff. Okay, also on your list, we're going to pop over to Epcot. Wow, you're just all over the place. Illuminations, I assume Reflections of Earth.
Yes, that was a favorite. In fact, I'm wearing my.
There you go.
Actually, it's my daughter's. I borrowed it.
It hasn't been gone that long, but it said it left in 2019. And I think it's one of those things where the pandemic has ruined our time perspective on it, or maybe because it went away, we had a pandemic. I'm just throwing that out.
Just felt like it.
What do you remember about Illuminations? What was your favorite part?
Well, there's a little funny story. My husband, he's our photographer. He's our photographer for the book, and he went around one day with the guy that did the fireworks and all the pyro. So he went around and took some photos of him setting up, and then he watched the fireworks with him, and he just stood there saying, "Damn." Damn, he could see the mistakes. He could see the things that didn't happen. It looked perfect to everybody else, but he knew, damn, it was like, it was, he knew exactly what was supposed to happen. And then, he said, it's never perfect. It's never perfect. He said, you might think it's perfect, but I know it's not perfect. But I liked the actually the whole thing before it started, you could see things starting to happen. The lights would come on all around the lagoon, at the different countries, and the music would come up, and everybody knew it was happening. It was all kind of dark, and it was this community feel. I really just kind of missed the whole thing. It seemed so, I don't know, old fashioned a little bit, but I kind of liked that part of it, that it was like that.
I still think about it when I'm out there, when they still have the torches, which they use, every around the lagoon. So that makes me think of, I think about how they used to say in the intro would say reflections on Earth. They'd blow out the torches, and it was like this.
It's like, whew, you could hear it. Yeah. I know, I love that part.
So I reflexively do that. And the other reason I think about it, and this has been usually incorporated in the subsequent fireworks spectaculars, there is just that finale that was all white fireworks and was so loud. I called it the rib rattler. Just like, all right, I'm ready, let it go. And it's like, and it always lasted about 2 seconds longer than you thought it was going to, and so your mind goes to a scary place. But
we always try to get a shot for our book, and we had to get like in front of it, and there's a place to be where it's symmetrical. I mean, you really can't see it all the way around the lagoon and have it be the same show. Right. So we had to be at a certain spot and certain time, and you're right, it's over, and snap your fingers and it's over, the part that you really want. And it was very loud. We actually live where we can hear the fireworks at Epcot. Yeah. So I know we're so lucky. But
you knew when it was 9:20.
Yeah. You know when to walk your dogs, not during that time. So
during that time. It's the Orlando life.
Oh, yes.
Okay, Julie, thanks for spending time with me.
Oh, sure. This was so fun. Thank you, Dwayne. I appreciate it.
I'll see you later.
Bye.
Okay, finally, here comes Chuck Lionberger of the Mousecast.
From the Mousecast podcast, yes.
And I'm just going to jump all over the place with you.
Absolutely, let's go.
Let's go back in the day to Cypress Gardens.
Yeah, and by back in the day, we're going way back in the day, like 1920s. Cypress Gardens, when it first came to Orlando, and in some respects, could almost be thought of as kind of the first theme parkish like thing. But what you see there really is what I think made Cypress Gardens so unique and so memorable was the water skiing teams. And they had all these different types of water skiing shows that they would put on every single day there at Cypress Gardens. And I can remember when I went and as a wee little lad back, I guess it was the late 1970s, somewhere in that vicinity, where we were doing several things. We did Six Gun Territory. You were talking earlier about theme parks that are now strip malls. Six Gun Territory, unfortunately, landed in that same boat. But we went to Cypress Gardens, and yes, you had the lush flora and fauna and all that, but the spectacular, and yes, here in the bell ladies in the bell dresses and all that. I mean, it was such a beautiful visual park. The whole thing was eye candy, but then you had the spectacle, which was the water skiing. And I just remember watching that and just, again, I'm less than 10 years old.
Yeah.
Whoa, this is incredible. And, by then I had started to learn how to water ski. So I had a little bit of actual experience. So, I knew that what they were doing wasn't easy and it was hard. And then you see the tower. I don't know if you have a shot of it, but there's at one point where there's a group of water skiing. They're on the bottom, and then some on top of them, and some on top of them. And you've got this pyramid-like cheerleaders water skiing down the way. I mean, how in the world can they pull that off? But they did.
Daily.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
You watch that and you're just like, holy cow. It's hard enough to see cheerleaders doing that. And they're standing still. These guys are on skis and they're pulling this off. So yeah, Cypress Gardens was really a spectacle to see the water skiing shows and very beautiful. Of course, now these days it's part of Legoland. Yes. What's left of Cypress Gardens is part of Legoland. So
yeah, when I was doing my history story, someone else had written about, of course, Dick Pope Sr. Was the owner founder, whatever.
Right. He had as I
Square-
remember, he had created it, and again, that was going all the way
Right.
back to the 1920s.
Yeah. But they credited his wife Julie with having the botanical knowledge to do it, to have the idea for the Southern Bells, and the water ski show to entertain the troops. And I
Oh, that
thought,
makes
wow,
sense.
those are three key things about Cypress
Yeah.
Gardens, so
Well, and you think back of, I mean, how far back it goes, when you're
Yeah.
talking about that. I mean, Cypress Gardens is around during World War II. It came, World War I had just ended,
Mhm.
but World War II, and of course, all the, subsequent conflicts after that. So,
yeah, so that was her way to entertain people on bases, I guess, in Tampa and Orlando.
yeah, and invite
It seems out of the way, but
men and women to come up.
let's believe it's true. Also in the gardens, the banyan tree, the actual
Yes.
gardens, which I had a talk with Legoland PR. We should say Legoland took over the land in like 2011, I think.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
And they've retained a lot of the gardens proper before Legoland.
To their credit, and I think we need to give Legoland some props here because they did retain, I guess, as much of the heart and the spirit of the original Cypress Gardens as they could do.
You can get lost over in the gardens and not know there's a Lego around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So it's old school immersive. So
it is, and here's the funny thing about it. We talk a lot about Epcot and Flower and Garden Festival that's coming on. Here getting ready to start, but it's year round down in Cypress Gardens. You have that same beautiful flora and fauna around it at Cypress Gardens pretty much all year round.
So I was at Lego this week because they have a coaster coming out. And so I was able to talk to the PR team a little bit about flowers and gardens and the cold.
Yeah.
And they immediately said, oh no, there are heaters for the banyan tree. It is something we treasure, It is warmer than you are in the cold, So they do care about that, and it's a priority. I also I'm obsessed with the Florida-shaped swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know if you can still get to it or not. It's not, you can't really touch it.
I don't know if you can. I remember when I was going back and we were talking about it, it's like, okay, let me refresh my memory of Cypress Gardens. Because again, I was less than 10 years old, it's late 1970s. And there's a great shot of the Southern Bells standing on the edge of the Florida pool there.
Right. Yeah.
And kind of showing it off. You can actually, if you go onto Google Maps, you can actually see it from overhead.
It's amazing.
It's actually kind of cool to see.
I think, was that part of one of the Esther Williams movies?
I think yes, somewhere it might have been. It was. I know it was used as a location for a couple of different films.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move forward in time a little bit to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah, so 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So now we're getting to Classic Magic Kingdom. And we're back actually on this same trip because I can remember we did Six Gun, Cypress Gardens, Magic Kingdom. So we're in the late 1970s, and right there, you had these Nautilus subs. And the thing I loved about 20,000 Leagues, and it ended up probably being my most favorite attraction in the Magic Kingdom back then, because, and again, I was less than 10 years old, somewhere in that vicinity. I really kind of thought I was in a sub. Once you got down below that water line,
yes,
kudos to the Imagineers. They created some of the best visual effects. You thought cramped. It was real. Yeah, cramped, very cramped. I mean, you were kind of tucked on in there and looking through this little porthole like this. But you got this ability as you're going through, and of course the bubbles come up like this, and you even feel, I don't know if there actually was a little bit of a dip or not, but it felt like the boat took a dive and you were actually descending down into the water. I'm sure, again, most of that was effect, and it was very believable effect.
At least when you're 9.
Yeah, at least when you're 9. I mean, you bought it,
right.
And so you enjoyed it, and the thing about 20,000 Leagues, of course, is that it's gone from the Magic Kingdom, but it's not gone everywhere. You can still enjoy a version of 20,000 Leagues now known as the Nemo submarines over in Disneyland, and so they brought them back. So I was really thrilled when they did bring them back, and a time when I went to Disneyland, I've been there a couple of times, to go and experience that, and it was like going back in time to remember the Nemo subs, and you didn't really need to understand the 20,000 Leagues movie
No.
to experience the attraction. If you'd had seen it, okay, great, that helped. But the story was perfect, whether you had experienced the movie and knew the movie story or not. It was absolutely wonderful, and again, a spectacle.
Yeah.
And then you take 20,000 Leagues, the new version that's over in Tokyo Disneyland, where there's not actually any water at all. And I had the chance to go out there and experience that back probably 2022, I want to say. No, 2024. Actually, that recent 2024. It's a whole different experience. If you have ever get the chance to go to Tokyo Disneyland, in this case, Tokyo Disney Sea, go. It retells the entire story. The sub is smaller, so there's only, 4 people per sub.
Wow.
So it's a much smaller ride vehicle, and it's suspended, actually kind of like think Peter Pan and that suspended ride vehicle. 4 people, and you're going through the similar storyline with, now of course it's half of it's Japanese, so you don't understand what's going on. My daughter did; she speaks Japanese, and she would translate for me. But you would go through this whole story, and the visuals again were amazing. It's a little darker actually because it's down inside the volcano that's at the heart of Tokyo Disney Sea, and it's actually fascinating because you got on the attraction up on like level 2, and you got off down on level 1. So you actually descended kind of down, and then you got off down below. It's kind of cool. Again, so if you ever get a chance, you got to go check out 20,000 Leagues over at Tokyo Disney Sea.
Yeah. So our 20,000 Leagues didn't so much close as fade away.
Yeah, and you can understand why. I mean, and this is Disney has and your talk with Rob back on Jaws, it had the same issue. Water-based attraction, maintenance issues.
Yes.
It's going to be they go hand in hand. Anything that's a water-based attraction, you're going to have issues with maintenance and issues with it, breaking down and everything like that. And 20,000 Leagues was no different.
Yeah.
And so there just came a time where I think Disney finally said, we just can't keep this thing going.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah. So, now it's what we were calling New Fantasyland for so long, but now I guess it's just Fantasyland, basically where Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and which Little Mermaid is it? Journey
Under the Sea. Yep.
Yes. In that general vicinity is where it was. Although I think New Fantasyland goes beyond.
It does. It goes a little bit beyond where. Yeah. But you got to remember, for 20,000 Leagues, the footprint wasn't just the pool.
Right.
The pool was just the front version. Then you had the show building behind it, and you saw that best when you were on the old Skyway, which we're going to talk about the Skyway in a little bit too.
So you look down at the 20,000 Leagues, and you look up at the Skyway, which I don't know. As a kid, I was drawn to the Skyway.
Oh, I love the Skyway. I would wish they brought it back, and when the Skyliner came up, I'm like, oh my gosh, so wonderful that it is back. The thing about the Skyway, and there are still pieces of it that you can see to this day. If you're in Tomorrowland and the restrooms in Tomorrowland, that's the bottom half of what was the Skyway building, and it was up above. The tangled bathrooms now are where the old Skyway landing station was, past It's a Small World. But the Skyway gave you this bird's eye view of Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. And I specifically remember the most vivid memory of being on that Skyway was 20,000 Leagues, because you saw the whole pool, and then you saw the show building behind. And what made it so cool was that 2 pieces. One, that Disney took the time, and the Imagineers took the time and the effort to make sure that it was still a spectacle for those that were more up on the Skyway than they were down in the subs. The pool was decorated, and you had coral and seaweed and all these kind of things. So we saw the pool, it really looked awesome. But then at the same time, it did peel back the curtain just a little bit, because you saw the track, and you could see a little bit of the, that's how they pulled that off, kind of thing like that. And so I loved the Skyway.
Yeah.
Again, that's probably the Skyway is part of the reason I think 20,000 Leagues has such fond memories is because you saw it from up above, and you got that bird's eye view of the Skyway. from the Skyway.
It seems longer ago than this, but I have it that it went away in 99.
I think it was in the late 90s that it finally did go away. The Skyway buildings stayed around for a long time. In fact, the old, especially the one out by Small World, was stroller parking forever. Yeah,
stroller parking. Forever.
It just became stroller parking, and it was just, and it's actually interesting. It is referenced in Ridley Pearson's Kingdom Keepers book, the Skyway building, and I think it's actually the Disneyland version that they reference. But there are pieces of it that I think Ridley Pearson, when he wrote the Kingdom Keepers series, great book series, if you ever get a chance to read it, it's a fun story, that he references pieces of the Skyway and the old Skyway buildings.
So last on your list is something else I've been to this week, or the last couple of weeks, is Maelstrom.
Yes, Maelstrom.
Now known as Frozen Ever After.
Frozen Ever After, yes.
I think Maelstrom is interesting because I think a lot of people at the time did not like it. And there were weird things about it.
You are not the first to pass this way.
Of nostalgia. There was an oil rig in there, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, there was. And Maelstrom has kind of garnered this cult following almost to the level of Mr. Toad now, where and in fact we talk about on our podcast Mousecast, we've talked about before about we're going to reorganize the parks and everything like that, and inevitably what comes up is we're bringing back Maelstrom. Every time we're bringing back Maelstrom because it's just beloved. What I liked so much about Maelstrom, first of all, it was a thrill ride in World Showcase, which was really still the only thrill ride in World Showcase outside of Remy's, which you could give it has a little bit of thrill, but Remy's is much newer. Yeah. But it told such a fun story, and you got into the Nordic legend, and you got into the whole idea of the Nordic mythology as part of that, and it was just a cool attraction. It was a lot of fun. It was short. I mean, you have to give it. I mean, it was not the longest attraction in the world, and that's part of, I think, what when Disney changed it to Frozen Ever After, they actually kind of lengthened it because where Maelstrom before you had a load area, and the load area is just after where Olaf is now. That was the load area, and then the unload area is where the load unload is now for Frozen. So you think about that, all that show. From the time you get on to Frozen Ever After and get around past Olaf, all of that was just backstage and the boats just circling around. So, it was a shorter attraction back then. And I don't know, Dwayne, do you remember when you got out at that little Nordic village, and then what did you do? You went into a short movie about Norway. Yes. And only about 3 people sat down to watch the film. Everybody
it had right doors that closed automatically, so you had to know it. You had to leave with purpose.
Yes,
because
I think towards the
seats
end,
were uncomfortable in there.
If I remember, towards the end, they got to the point where they just left the doors open, and the movie just kept running, and people would just walk right through.
That's a better idea.
Yeah, they walked right through.
I think of Maelstrom every time I'm over there. Because there is still a backward stretch.
Yes, there is.
In your Flume vehicle, which is a little longer than you expect it to be. And then it turns. So you almost had to keep that.
They had to keep it as part of the ride mechanism. There was no way to make a turn. And the first time you ride Maelstrom and you're like coming up to the trolls, the invaders, and bunk, and you stop. And if you don't know, you're looking around, you're going, okay, what's happening next? And then you feel this, and you move to the side, and back you go.
And it would pop out the front or the facade of the building, of the show.
Yes.
Building. So I know. Well, I won't tell them what to do, but I wish they had kept that. I enjoyed that.
I'm with you, Dwayne. I'm with you. I wish that had stuck around. It was
would be hard to pull off with the other plans, with the screens and the effects.
Yeah, I mean, they needed. Plus, also, it was light pollution into the attraction.
Yeah, it is,
especially during the daylight. That it just let a lot, and that's hard to overcome.
You might get rained on a little bit.
Yeah, well, you're in a water-based attraction. You're gonna get wet anyway. You're gonna get wet anyway. It doesn't matter. But it was fun because you would see the boat come, and then it would we would back out over it and you would see it and then go. So yeah, I remember when they did Frozen, the first thing on it was, oh, they closed up the opening up there. So, but you know, fun stuff.
With their water ride maintenance in some way.
Yeah, and again, that's the same issue. It's, you know, all water rides, you know, they're going to be maintenance issues. It's just the nature. Water and mechanical devices don't mix. So, all
right, Chuck, tell people where they can hear your, you can hear
sure, yeah,
you get podcasts.
Absolutely. So come join us anytime. Mousecast, you can find us on Facebook at Mousecast 2025 or on YouTube. Just search Mousecast, just like you see it right there. We are live every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Come and join us on Mousecast.
All right, I'm going to let you go.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for helping us. All right, so obviously we haven't covered everything. And when I asked people what they missed, what they remembered, I got a long, long list. Wet and Wild, River Country, Church Street Station, which was downtown, Six Gun Territory, Little 500, King Henry's Feast, all those Epcot things like World of Motion and Horizons, the Mystery Funhouse. Oh, Rob mentioned the Xanadu Home of the Future already. Disney Quest, Gone But Not Forgotten. I Like Julian Dragons at Islands of Adventure. And multiple mentions of free beer at SeaWorld Orlando, which, you know, if you know what you're doing, you can, at times, you can still get the free beer at SeaWorld. So if you want to read my 150 years of tourism story and the exhaustive timeline with even more attractions, it's available on OrlandoSentinel.com. Look out for more coverage of the first 150 years of Orlando Sentinel for the rest of the year. So thanks, panelists. Thanks, viewers, for tuning in, and we'll see you later. Bye.